Good morning, students. Today I will be teaching a chapter evolution. In the my previous lecture also, I was teaching you about certain theories. Today we will be talking about certain other things in this chapter. Evolution of life forms, and then we will be dealing with evidences of evolution. So we will be talking about both these things. First, we will be talking about evolution of life forms. Now before this I want to say that since it is a new chapter, just one lecture has passed, so I would like to tell you that please try to read your books and then go for a video as such. Then watch the video and then you should do your questions which has been given by us. It is very essential to read the book, then watch the video, and then you go for the questions. Very, very important. So I think you are safe at home. Be safe at home as such, and study also, devote some time for studying. So now let us start with this evolution of life forms. Now I would like to tell you one more theory here, that is theory of special creation. Theory of special creation, which was very popular during the medieval period. Now there are three connotations of this theory, three special features of this theory. First, all the life forms, the diversity of life which we see today was present before also. There has been no change. And moreover, the second connotations believe that all these life form has evolved like this. That means they were created like this. Firstly, they were created like this, first connotation theory. First part of the connotation theory believes that they were created like this as such. All those things, for example, if you see fishes, human beings, monkeys, chimpanzees, any other thing, these were present, these were created as such. And secondly, there has been no change in them. Still they are like this only from the very past. And the third connotation theory, third part of this theory says that the earth is about 4,000 years ago. Now, if I ask you, do you believe in such things? The answer is obviously no. We don't believe in such things, because in this scientific era we know that these things cannot be possible. Now we know that evolution has occurred, and this earth is not 4,000 years old, it is about millions of years ago this earth was formed. This earth is something around 4.5 billion years ago it was formed from the sun itself. Now 4.5 billion means 450 crore years. Can you believe it? 450 crore years ago our earth was formed. Now we believe that evolution has occurred right from the time when the life evolved on the earth. That means the earlier form of life must have been very simple, and later environmental changes occur. Due to these environmental changes, the life form also changed and it gradually evolved. And the present world, the diversity which is present in our present world, we see they are different from the organisms which were in the past. But yes, we all have the same ancestry. That means there are certain characteristics which are present in us and which were present in our ancestral living organism also. Now those living organisms which are our immediate past, just few million years ago, which were present on the earth, they may share a greater similarity. We may have a greater similarity with them. But those animals or the plants, or we can say the living creatures, which were present, suppose 1000 million years ago or 50 million years ago, they are different from us. They have a we have a greater differences. So this means that evolution has taken place. Now the question arises, what is actually evolution? Evolution is actually a gradual change. It is called as a slow change from time to time. That means this gradual change is caused due to change in environment. Now let us talk about Charles Darwin. You must have heard about this name, Charles Darwin. Now he was the person who is responsible for giving theories in evolution, very popular theories in evolution as such. Now he went to Galapagos Island. Galapagos Island are situated very near to South America continent. You must have heard about South America continent. So Galapagos Island are situated very near to that particular place. Now, with the help of a ship called HMS Beagle, he went to Galapagos Island. And in Galapagos Island, he saw diversity of birds and animals. Based on these observations, he was able to arrive at a particular conclusion. Now let us talk about what actually his theory was. Now according to him, there has been gradual change in life forms, and that has been occurring since past billions of years ago. Now what is it actually? Charles Darwin says that evolution is taking place, and evolution is according to the change in environment. That means in a population there are group of individuals. You know that in a population, if there are group of individuals, naturally there will be variations in characteristics. Variations in variations, variations in characteristics. Now these characteristics, some of them will be having a different, they will be having some different characteristic than the other. Now these characteristics, this difference in characteristics will make some of the individuals in that particular population to adjust better than the rest which are present in the population. That means if you have the ability to adjust in the environment in a better manner than the rest of the individuals present in a population, you will survive. You have more probability for surviving. And then if you are surviving in that particular environment, you will be able to draw all the resources which are present in the environment as such in a better manner, in more efficient manner than the rest of the individuals. Naturally, those who will survive in that particular environment will be able to utilize the resources present in the environment. And if those individuals are able to utilize these environment, naturally they will be able to produce their progeny. So according to Charles Darwin, it is the reproductive fitness of the organism which is responsible for its survival. Organisms which are better fit, better reproductively fit, are better able to utilize the resources present in the environment, will naturally reproduce more, and since their progeny will be produced in much number, it will have an advantage than the rest of the organism present in the population. So according to Charles Darwin, it was because of reproductive fitness. There are certain organisms which are better fit, better can produce more progeny. That means that some individuals in a population, they can adjust in the environment in a better manner than the rest of the others. That is, they are able to utilize the resources present in the environment more efficiently than the rest of the others. Simply we can say that they are able to utilize resources present in the environment in a more efficient manner than the rest of the others, and that is the reason why they are able to increase their reproductive fitness. Now organism which is the individuals which are better fit will produce more progeny. So they will be present in the evolution, and they will evolve also. So that is more essential. Now this theory was later known as theory of natural selection. That means the environment is changing. If the same kind of changes are observed in the individuals present in the population, so that their reproductive fitness increases, those organisms will have a better chance to survive in the environment as such. So that was the theory put by Charles Darwin, theory of natural selection. It is the nature which decides whether the organism will be present in the evolution in a later generation or not. Okay. Now, this is a very important theory of natural selection, and in this theory he has also said that there will be struggle for existence. Organisms will compete among themselves for the limited resources. Only those organisms which will be able to derive more resources will increase their reproductive fitness more as compared to other organisms, and it will be able to produce more progeny as compared to other organisms, and that will be fit in the environment. That particular organism will be fit in their environment. So this is his theory as such. So he laid a great emphasis on natural selection, and we know that many of his work was found to be correct even today. Okay. Now, since we know that evolution has already taken place, and but there may be some confusion in the minds of certain people. So how to prove that evolution has actually taken place? Now there are evidences for it. That is the reason I have written here evidences of evolution. Now let us talk about them. First evidences is evidences from paleontology. Evidences from paleontology. Now we know that the rock part consists of several layers of sediments. These are the layers of sediments present on the rock. Now this is the above part of the rock, and as we move downward there are several other strata. several other layers which are present. Now, if suppose we dig from the above part, we will find that in the above strata, you will find that the recent organisms are buried inside the layers of the soil. Only the recent organisms, which can be called as a modern organism, will be present in the upper part of the rock strata. But as we move down, we will observe that the organism now which are found as a fossil form will be little different from the present organism on the earth. That means that they have been buried here since a long time. And as we move down inside the rock strata, layers of the rock, we will find that the organism now, it is more different from us, the present day organism. So as we move down, we will find more ancient type of organism that were present in different geological periods. Now the whole history of the earth, the past history of the earth has been divided into periods, epochs and eras based on certain criteria. They have been divided into different periods, epochs and eras. And certainly many organisms of the past are not present today. So they belong to that particular era, that particular period or that particular epoch. So this proves that actually the evolution has taken place. The change in the life forms have taken place. Some of the life forms, they got extinct due to change in environmental conditions. Some very old life forms such as crocodiles, they were present in the dinosaur era also and they are present today also. They did not got extinct. Some have been converted into other life forms. So this has been happening since very beginning. So this proves that evolution is taking place. These are all evidences of evolution. So evidences from paleontology. Okay, now we'll be looking at another evidence of evolution. Evidences from comparative anatomy and morphology. Now let us talk about this. Evidences from comparative anatomy and morphology. See, since the very beginning, animals and plants, you can say living organisms were present right from the very beginning. And there has been different kind of evolution. For example, if you look at the pentadactyl limbs of human beings, chimpanzees, monkeys, loin cats, you will observe that their limbs are morphologically very different, since they have been adapted to perform different functions. So naturally they are different. But anatomically, if you look, all these pentadactyl limbs will consist of same kind of bones. That is, they will have humerus, ulna, carpals, metacarpals, phalanges. Remember these things we have studied in class 11. Same kind of bones internally, humerus, ulna, carpals, metacarpals, phalanges. These are different parts of the bone present in a pentatactile limbs. So these will be present in all of them, whether they are chimpanzee, monkey, human beings, zebra, kangaroo, cat, lion, tiger. In each of them, the internal parts of the bones will be similar. That is, you can also say that in a very simple terms, anatomically they will be same, but morphologically they will be different. These kind of organs are called as homologous organs. Homologous organs. So homologous organs are morphologically different. They appear to be different because they have been adapted to perform a different function. But anatomically, if you see them, their internal features as well as their basic origin will be same. So that is called as homologous organs. Homologous organs have arisen due to a kind of evolution which is called as divergent evolution. Divergent evolution. And this is because of different needs. The organs modified themselves very differently. This is because of different needs. In case of plants, thrones of bougainvillea, कांटा होता है उसमें, thrones of bougainvillea and tendrils of cucurbita. See, the function is very different. Thrones are there in order to protect the bougainvillea plant from grazing animals, and tendrils are present which assist the cucurbita plants in climbing up or having a support so that it can climb up. So functionally they are different, but both of them are modification of stem. So both of them are homologous organs. That is, tendrils present in cucurbita and thrones of plant bougainvillea are called to be as homologous organs. So functionally they are different, but anatomically, and you can say the basic origin as well as anatomical features are same, because both of them are modification of stems. Okay, now they all have arisen due to divergent evolution. You can say that homologous organs have arrived, or you can have arisen due to divergent evolution. Now let us see about another kind of evolution which might have taken place, which has actually taken place, and that is called as convergent evolution. Let us talk about convergent evolution. Let us talk about convergent evolution. Okay. Sometimes what happens is, the basic origin is not same, and anatomical features are also not same, but still morphologically the two things appear to be very similar. Now let us take an example. Potato and sweet potato both have functional similarity, that they store food. If you look at them, more or less they will appear to be similar, but potato is actually a modification of stem. It will have nodes and internodes in them, but sweet potato is actually a modification of root. So such kind of organs which appear to be basically very similar, morphological similarity is present in them, but their anatomical features, internal features as well as the basic origin is different. These kind of organs are called as analogous organs. These kind of organs are called as analogous organs. These kind of organs are called as analogous organs. Now, for example, let us take an example. Wings of butterfly and wings of birds are also analogous organs. Both have the same functional similarity, both of them can fly. But wings of butterfly are actually extensions of their exoskeleton. Exoskeleton is present in insects. They are extensions of exoskeleton. Wings of birds actually are modified form of their forelimbs. They are covered by the feathers. So origin is very different. Anatomical feature of bird is very different from that of insect. But morphologically they appear to be same because they have functional similarity. So this is again an analogous organ. Now similarly, eye is present in octopus and human beings are also considered to be analogous organs. Let me give you some examples of homologous organs, as I have already told you about homologous organs. For example, I have told you about cucurbita, tendrils present in the cucurbita and thrones of bougainvillea. These are homologous organs. Let me give you more examples. Vertebrate brain, present vertebrate brain. You may see different types of brain, but in all vertebrates they will have some differences also. Morphologically they may not appear to be same, but basic origin is same. Okay. Similarly, vertebrate heart, it may be possible that in case of fishes, if you see there are only two chambers are present. In case of reptiles and amphibians, 3 chambers of heart is present. In case of mammals and apes, they have 4 chambered heart. So naturally, these appear to be different morphologically, but their basic origin is same, anatomical features are same, and that is the reason they are considered to be homologous organs. So now we have dealt with the evidences, 2 types of evidences. That is, first one was evidences from paleontology, and the second one is from evidences from comparative anatomy. Now let us look at, there are certain other evidences of evolution which we will be talking about. 2 of them we will be talking about. Evidences from biochemical analysis. Biochemical analysis. See, due to recent knowledge in science, it has increased much in the present era. We have come to know that there are certain genes which are very similar in all of us. Imagine chimpanzee's genome is about 98.99% similar to us. So from that we can know that, from the genetic analysis we can know that chimpanzee and us as human beings, we had a very common ancestor just few million years ago. We share much features with chimpanzee than the rest of the animals. So it is much closer to us. Similarly, proteins which are produced in organisms, for example, let us take an example of insulin, which is produced in the pancreas. You know what is the main work of insulin. It controls blood glucose level. It is found that it is produced in many of the mammals. So naturally, why it is so? Because evolution naturally has taken place. Evolution has taken place. That is the reason why we share so many number of genes. So this is evidences from biochemical analysis. Now let us talk about evidences from anthropogenic evidences. anthropogenic evolution. We'll be talking about this, anthropogenic evolution. This will be the last part of our lecture as such. Now let us look at this. See, just before 1850, that is, you can consider it to be pre-industrialization. Just before pre-industrialization in England, two type of moths were present. One type of moth was having a dark colored body, and the other kind of moth was having a fair colored body. Both were present in the population. But as compared to the dark colored moth, white color, you can say fair colored moth, was more in number. During those times, the trees, the bark of the trees were covered by lichens, and you know lichens are indicators of pollution. Since in the pre-industrialized world pollution was not there, so lichens were present in the England, in the cities of the England as well. So they used to cover the whole of the bark of the trees. White colored moth, when it was sitting on the white colored part of the tree or the bark, just because of its background, it was not visible by the birds. Insect is also white colored, and the tree trunk is also white colored. Naturally, it cannot be observed by the birds. So the birds, which acted as a predator, used to kill them in a lesser amount. So that is the reason why white colored moth was more in number. Now the black colored moth, when it sat on the tree trunk, which was actually of white color, you just imagine, आपको बहुत अच्छे से पता है, अगर किसी white चीज पे कोई black चीज आके बैठ जाएगी तो ज़्यादा visible होगी. And that is the reason why the crow or the birds were able to eat them in a larger amount. That is the reason why the white colored moth was found in more in number as compared to black colored moth during pre-industrialized era, that is before 1850. But what happened after it? You know it well that in England the industrialization took place. In 1920s it was found that all the trees which were present in the England, due to carbon soot and smoke coming out from the chimneys of the factories, they eradicated all the lichens which used to cover the bark of the tree. जो lichens ट्री के बार्क में प्रेजेंट होते थे, वो कार्बन की वजह से, पॉल्यूशन ज़्यादा होने की वजह से अब वो वहाँ से हट गए, एक्सटिंक्ट हो गए. लाइकेंस आर एक्चुअली वेरी गुड इंडिकेटर्स ऑफ व्हाट? दे आर वेरी गुड इंडिकेटर्स ऑफ पॉल्यूशन. Wherever the pollution is more, lichens will not be found there. So क्या हुआ, वहाँ पे सारे lichens हट गए. अब जो ट्री की ट्रंक थी, that appeared to be black in color. Now what happened? The black colored moth, when it was sitting on the tree trunk, it was not being visible by the crow. अब crow उल्टा हो गया. जब black colored moth tree के trunk पे बैठ रहा था, तो जो बर्ड है उसको नहीं देख पा रही. क्यों? क्योंकि दोनों का बैकग्राउंड सेम हो गया. अब लाइकेंस वहाँ नहीं है और ट्री का ट्रंक क्या है? काला है. कार्बन सूट जो चिमनी से निकल के आ रहा है, स्मोक जो चिमनी से निकल के आ रहा है इंडस्ट्रीज में, वो सेटल हो गया किसके ऊपर? ट्री ट्रंक के ऊपर. और यही वजह है ब्लैक कलर्ड का मॉथ अब वो विजिबल नहीं हो पाएगा, बर्ड्स उसको नहीं देख पाएंगे. And similarly what happened whenever the white colored moth sat on the tree trunk is now of black color, and the white moth is of white color, it was clearly visible. What happened then? The white colored moth, drastically their population was reduced. Just the opposite what was happening before 1850. So this is a kind of anthropogenic evolution. In today's world, we are using so many herbicides and pesticides. We are actually selecting the resistant stains, the stains of the bacteria, microorganisms such as bacteria, which are resistant towards herbicide and pesticide, or those kind of organism, insects which are resistant towards herbicide and pesticide, they will not die because of those herbicide and pesticide. They will survive and they will produce more progeny. So naturally, the resistant herbicide and pesticide organisms will survive in the near future, and that is taking place. And this is a kind of anthropogenic evolution. We are actually helping them to evolve, all those resistant organisms. So today's topic, we have gone through all the evidences of evolution. I hope you have understood this topic well. Thank you, and have a very nice day.